And welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me in today's video. There's some very interesting trends happening right now in our US housing market. So for example, it's taking more than 2 weeks longer to sell a house compared to the same time frame 1 year ago. And there's also 49% more houses for sale. So in today's video, I'm gonna share what's happening right now in our US housing market regarding prices, housing inventory, price reductions, and of course, much more. And this will give us some indication of what lies ahead in our US housing market. Also, stay tuned toward the end of this video because I'm gonna provide some predictions of what may lie ahead with our US housing market. And with that said, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, then check out that link below, which is homeandmoney.com/Jason to get started today. So this video is my weekly video I make for you guys, which is probably my favorite video I make. You guys seem to like it as well. But this video is based on this new report from Realtor.com, which I did not read. Instead, go to Realtor.com/research/data, click on this link right here, and it takes you to this data right here. So let's go ahead and dive right in and share my nerdy Excel spreadsheet right here. Technically, it's Realtor.com's, but actually added some flair to it. So the most recent week we have is for April 15th. Let's first talk about asking prices because the median asking price in the US increased by only 2.5%. This is actually the smallest gain going back to early May of 2020, which is really impacted by COVID lockdowns than anything else. So only increase of 2.5% that we saw this week for asking prices in the US. And also for comparison's sake, asking prices increased by 6.8% during the same week of 2019. Obviously, that's pre-COVID levels. So 6.8% versus the 2.5% we saw last week. Also, as a note right here, this marks 18 consecutive weeks in which we saw single-digit increases on a year-over-year basis for asking prices. Before that, we saw price gains over 10% for the previous 50 weeks. Here's something I also just noticed when I was actually filming this video here. This 2.5% increase is half the rate we saw just 2 weeks ago when the rate of increase was a gain of 4.9%. Interesting. So let's have a look at housing inventory or active listing count. This is the number of houses for sale in the US, which increased by 49.1% last week. This is actually below the gains that were reported by altosresearch.com. They reported gains of 52% over the past 12 months. And in my personal opinion, the reason why we're seeing more houses for sale today compared to a year ago is because home buying demand has decreased greatly. It has increased, but not the same pace we saw in the first half of 2022. And that's why inventory levels have been shooting up despite the fact we've been seeing decreases of new listings for quite some time. So speaking of inventory levels, here's what altosresearch.com reported. So inventory has increased by 138,000 houses compared to a year ago. So there's approximately 138,000 more houses for sale today compared to 1 year ago. That's an increase of 52%. However, having said that, inventory has been on a downward trend ever since November last year, despite increases on a year-over-year basis. Also, as a note right here, inventory decreasing in the winter months is entirely normal. What is not normal is to see inventory levels decrease in March and April like we're seeing today. For instance, according to altosresearch.com, we have a lot more houses for sale right now compared to 2022, but a lot less compared to pre-COVID levels back in April of 2019. In fact, we have approximately 53% fewer houses for sale today compared to pre-pandemic levels going back to April 2019. The reason why we have so few houses for sale, historically speaking, going back to pre-COVID levels is this right here, a lack of new listings hitting the market. So for example, for the past 41 consecutive weeks, we've been seeing year-over-year decreases of new listings. And that's dating back to early July last year. Now, despite this, there's approximately 49% more houses for sale compared to a year ago, according to Realtor.com here. But this decrease of new listings falling for 41 consecutive weeks is keeping inventory levels below pre-COVID levels. One more thing I do want to mention regarding new listings. If you guys recall from my video from a week ago, if you guys watched that, for the week ended April 8th, new listings decreased a whopping 31.5%. Whereas this week, they actually decreased by 4.8%. So the reason for this small decrease this week compared to the giant decrease we saw 2 weeks ago is likely due to the fact we saw religious holidays falling 1 week earlier this year compared to last year. All right, let's change gears slightly here and talk about days on the market, how fast or how slow houses are selling. So for the week ended April 15th, it's taking about 16 days longer to sell a house compared to the same time frame of 2022. However, though, this is actually the first decrease in about a month. So if you guys recall, the days in the market was hovering around 18 to 19 days, or an increase of 18 to 19 days for about a month or so. So this is actually the first decrease we've been seeing in about a month. Now, still having said that, houses are taking longer to sell compared to 1 year ago, now for 37 consecutive weeks, going all the way back until August 6th last year. And again, I want to give you a friendly reminder, days in the market is based on a closed home sale. Therefore, this is a lagging indication of our US housing market. Let's also talk about the number of reduced price listings, because last week that increased by 79.4%, which is actually a significant increase compared to 2 weeks ago, where we saw an increase of 62.1%. Also, as a note right here, this is a significant increase compared to 2 weeks ago, but it has decreased in 8 out of the last 9 weeks. Also, in January through March, we saw triple-digit increases in the number of reduced price listings on a year-over-year basis. But now we're seeing increases of only double digits for the past 3 weeks. So these smaller increases that we have been seeing for about a month or so could be due to sellers listing their houses for prices that are more in line with current market conditions. In other words, our housing market has slowed down greatly compared to 1 year ago, for example, and or from declining inventory levels. In other words, we have fewer options for home buyers and less competition for home sellers, leading to bidding wars across some markets in the US. All right, that's the latest news we have regarding the number of reduced price listings. But let's talk about the share of price drops as well, according to altusresearch.com. For the week ended April 14th, the most recent data we have, the share is at 30%. Back in mid-November, it was 43%. Therefore, the share of price drops has been falling since mid-November, which is seasonal, by the way. But the current levels right now at 30% during that same time frame, we're at least at a 4-year high. Now, even though we're at more or less a 4-year high, the rate or the share at 30% has been pegged at 30% for about 2 months now. All right, I know that was a lot to cover in today's video, so here's a summary as well as some predictions as well here. So number one, asking prices only increased by 2.5% last week. That was the smallest increase going back to early May of 2020. For comparison's sake, asking prices rose by 6.8% during that same week of 2019 versus this 2.5% gain we saw last week. Number two, inventory increased by 49% year over year, according to Realtor.com. However, it's been on a downward trend ever since November last year. Of course, it's normal for inventory to fall in the winter months, but not in the early spring months, especially in March and April each year. Also, new listings have been decreasing by double digits for 35 out of the last 38 weeks. This continued lack of new listings is causing inventory levels to stay at historically low levels, looking at pre-COVID levels, of course, even though inventory is much higher now compared to the past couple of years. There's approximately 53% less houses for sale right now compared to the same week of 2019, despite the fact we have approximately 49% more houses for sale compared to 1 year ago. And number three, The average 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate, or the average 30-year fixed rates for people with great credit, of course, is at 6.7% as of April 20th, and that's up from 5.3% from a year earlier, and from the 3% rates, of course, we saw back in 2020 and 2021. Number 4, we saw a significant rise in the number of price reductions last week, but it still has decreased in 8 out of the last 9 weeks. On top of that, the share of price drops is at least a 4-year high during that same time frame, but it has been pegged at around 30% for the past couple of months. And number 5, houses are taking longer to sell compared to the same time frame of 2022 for 37 consecutive weeks. However, though, this is a lagging indication of our US housing market. So what are some potential huge changes ahead, given the fact that rates have been at or above 6% for quite some time? And of course, a disclaimer, I am not a real estate market fortune teller. I do not have any superpowers. Number 1, average 30-year rates are about 1.4 percentage points higher compared to 12 months ago. This equates to a 14% decrease in buyers' purchasing power. And number 2, housing affordability is still a big issue, especially compared to the past couple of years. Also compared to the past couple of weeks as well, because housing affordability has actually gotten worse. So buyers looking to purchase a $450,000 home today, putting 5% down today compared to early April, are going to pay approximately $140 more per month to buy that same house today compared to just about 3 weeks ago. This is due to rates increasing from 6.16% to approximately 6.7% from April 5th to April 20th this year. Additionally, talking about a lack of housing affordability, the median sold price in the US, according to Redfin, has now increased approximately 6% over the past 2 months alone. And number 3, early signs of home buying demand have been absolutely all over the place because rates shoot up 1 week and they shoot down the next week, which is making it very challenging to report the latest housing market updates for you guys. Now, having said that, the most recent stats that we have regarding applications for home loans to buy houses decreased a whopping 10% compared to last week. This is based on a report from the MBA that was just published on April 19th this year. Also, based on that report from the MBA, when looking at pre-COVID levels, their purchase index, which of course is a measure of applications for home loans to buy houses, is on par with the lowest levels going back to January of 2015. Also, Redfin reported on April 20th that pending home sales fell 19% from a year ago, but new listings fell by 21%. In other words, low demand is meaning low supply, which is making it feel like this market is very competitive, and in some markets, they're getting bidding wars. And to summarize this bullet point right here, it appears our housing market is highly rate dependent, so data coming in is ever changing, again, making it very challenging to report the latest market updates for you guys. Number 4, sellers and buyers have exited the market, leading to a dip in new listings and contracts being signed compared to the past several years here. The lack of new supply since last summer has led to inventory remaining at historically low levels. Again, down by about 53% compared to April of 2019. If homeowners continue to decide that now is not a good time to sell their house, that will limit inventory and put upward pressure on prices. Again, though, if this continues to happen, this is not going to be a repeat of 2020, 2021, or the first half of 2022, where prices and demand were absolutely skyrocketing. And number 5, I appreciate you guys following my YouTube channel and supporting the channel as well. Hope you guys have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.